Well, hello everyone. I don't know if you can hear the pitter-patter of the rain that's starting again on the roof of the hoop house here or not. I've had to do very little watering this summer in the outside gardens. I water every day inside the hoop house, or at least almost every day, as they get the smart pots in particular with these tomato plants and peppers in them seem to require water every day, I suppose, because of the fabric sides. It all evaporates out of them. But nevertheless, I love the things and I plan to order more. I really like the way things grow in them. Well, this little video is just a tour inside of the hoop house and a couple of interesting things that I want to show you out in the garden. In particular, the crown peas. Something I've never grown before, and quite interesting. If you've grown them before, let me know how they work out for you. So far I haven't tasted any of them, but the plant itself is very interesting. The lavender's in full bloom, so I want to show you the lavender with all the bees in it. Wet bees, I guess, today. Anyway, just a short little video showing around the gardens once again. Well, it isn't even the end of July, actually. This is a week before the end of July, and it looks like I'm going to get ripe tomatoes in July, which has been a goal of mine for the past several years. That's one of the yellow pears, still green shoulders on it, so I'm not picking it yet. But in behind there's one ripening, and the one next to it is ripening. They're a small tomato, an heirloom variety. I haven't grown them in years, but I used to grow them, so I'm familiar with them anyway. They're very sweet, nice tasting. Can hardly wait for it to fully ripen. Not to be outdone, one of the Gardener's Delight is starting to ripen too, and there are several more on a couple of other clusters here that, well, they're not orange like that, but they're starting to show a little bit of color, so I guess I'll have ripe Gardener's Delight before the end of July as well. I've really been enjoying the cayenne peppers. I've eaten most of them as green chilies, and they're some great size to some of them. Had one in a stir fry last night. For my taste, they have just the right amount of heat. There's plenty of heat and spice in them, but they're not a painful thing like a ghost chili or habanero would be, or something like that. So far, the only ones that have ripened on them are the smaller ones, which I guess were probably the ones that came on earlier. For some reason, they didn't grow as long as the newer ones that are coming out here. But as they ripen, I hope to dry them, not dehydrate them, but dry them. I'm going to try to just sort of string them on a thread or a string, and perhaps hang them up in the cabin where they could dry in the air circulating in there rather than in the house. These are the sweet green bell peppers, I suppose red when they're fully ripened, but I had the first one of those last night in a stir fry off a different plant, but they're also starting to produce in here. It's hard to get a shot down in the onion forest here. I am pleased. It's the first time I've ever had any what I would call success with onion sets. I've had better success growing with seeds, but this year I tried Spanish onion sets, and they are developing quite nicely. Another week to 10 days, and I'm going to have to pull them out though, because I want to put my fall brassicas in here in the greenhouse. They're nowhere near as big as what Brendan and Ian are growing. Well, I think your variety is called Centurion or something like that. Anyway, fantastic looking onions, but they are developing into something that's at least usable. I've got a hand down in there, so you can see that's probably, I don't know, 2.5 inches, 3 inches across the top or something like that. And of course, I'm showing you one of the larger ones. There are smaller. I guess there are also a couple that are larger than that, but they're developing and really pleasing me anyway, and I've eaten one or two. They're a nice sweet onion. These are the beta grapes. No sign of them ripening yet, and actually lately I haven't seen any great increase in size, but the clusters still look nice, and I'm trying to keep all that new growth pruned off the vines. Last year with the other variety, the Somerset, S-O-M-E-R-S-E-T, which is just off to the right here, I was thinking that there was a cluster of grapes, and then I went looking and couldn't find it later, so I convinced myself that I was dreaming, I guess, that the cluster of grapes must have been on this beta vine. Well, this year there were 2 or 3 clusters of grapes on it, and now they're gone. I don't know what that means. They just fall off or whatever, but that vine still has never produced anything, and isn't going to produce anything this year. It had several pretty good-sized clusters of grapes that looked like they were starting to develop, and I don't know, something gets in and eats them, or I don't see them on the ground. I don't know what happened to them, but they're not there anymore anyway. Kinds of heritage or heirloom peas. The blue-podded pea, which to my eye is more a purple-podded pea, but anyway, that one was started by the Cistercian monks in Germany in the Middle Ages, 13th century or something like that. And I'm trying to keep it going here. I just grow it every year to save seeds and give them away. Another one that's called Niplas ultra, which is a climbing pea, and I think is an older English variety, and it just has, white blossoms, and like you would normally see them on a pea vine, blossoms coming out at the leaf axils as it grows taller and taller. And this one is called the crown pea. On the package of seeds, of course, like any pea package, it's going to be the best peas you've ever tasted. And it also mentioned the blossoms, which, as you can see, I think are very attractive. Pink, darker pink and lighter pink, I guess, in the background rather than white there. But it didn't bother to explain why it's called the crown pea, and I think I understand that now after seeing it. This each place where there's going to be pea blossoms, it starts with this, what you'd have to call a crown, this cluster at the top of the vine. They're not supposed to be a climber, but these are probably, a good 3 feet off the ground, I guess. Now, they're not going to grow any taller, because I guess that's what it does. It grows up, and at the top of it has this crown of peas. And I don't know, looking down below, I don't see where it branches out too much and does that. Yeah, I guess there's 1 or 2 places there where it has branched out and done that. But anyway, it'll be a while yet before I get to taste peas. I was late getting them planted, and it looks to me like it's going to be almost August before I have my first peas. So I had the idea given to me by Patrick, One Yard Revolution channel, of planting my cucumbers behind the peas so they could take advantage of the nitrogen that legumes like peas and beans put into the soil. But that's not going to happen here, at least not this year. The peas should have been planted a good month earlier, I guess, in order to do that. So my cucumbers are in smart pots, and I have a bed where I have some strawberry plants, ever-bearing strawberry plants. Anyway, they're just about run out, and I'm going to take the strawberry plants out of there and prepare that bed for the other seedlings of cucumbers that I have ready to go in, or at least almost ready to go in. These are the blue-podded peas, which, as I say, I would call a purple-podded pea more than blue, but they also have a very attractive blossom. I can get a close-up on one here. Excuse the tall grass and weeds. I haven't had a chance to mow since we had the several days of rain. Hopefully I'll get that done soon, I guess. But I just have to show these 2 beds off. The one on the left is the sweet potatoes. I'm still skeptical as to whether or not I'll actually get a sweet potato here. I mean, they've got to be harvested in mid-September or so, at least, before the frost comes. And it's now mid-July. Well, they are starting to fill in. At least they're growing, and you can eat the vines, I guess. So far, I haven't tried that. And on the right, the salsify is the first thing. This sort of grass-like tall plants there at the very beginning of that row, and then the parsnips, and beyond that, the Belgian endive or Witloof chicory, whichever you want to call it. I've no idea. These are all root vegetables, what's happening down below, but I must say I'm very impressed with the plant growth. In amongst the salsify there at the beginning of the row are a few of the Witloof chicory, Belgian endive, whichever one you want to call the plant. And those are ones that when I thinned out the far end of the row, I transplanted. And they transplanted very well. They didn't wilt or anything. But as you can see, they are not growing as well as the ones that weren't transplanted. They were just planted from seed and left there. So I don't think they really appreciate having their taproot disturbed. I think Ian mentioned that, and I think you're quite right, Ian. Interesting to see if they actually produce anything that's usable at the end of the season when I lift them, but so far they're not anywhere near as vigorous. I am so impressed with the parsnips. I hope there's something down below the soil that matches the wonderful tops that are growing on them, and those are seeds that Rob, the old gardener guy in Finland, sent me. And along with the salsify there also. So anyway, there's a little look at this 2 new beds. The lavender has been showing color now for 2 weeks, but that doesn't mean that it's in bloom. It's just starting to bloom. When the little blossom buds open, the bees start to arrive. There's one down in there, if you can see it or not. Bumblebees. We don't have any honeybees in the area. And they've just started working it today. I'll do another clip maybe later on in the week and add to this. Once the blossoms are all open, this thing is absolutely alive with bees. The Greek oregano is in full bloom, a plant that's very hardy and also very invasive. Throws its seed and comes up everywhere and never seems to winter kill. But the bees really love it. Like most herbs that flower, I guess, the bees enjoy them very much.